Morning, Richland County. It is 9:32 on Thursday, January 19th. The Board of Commissioners is now in session. I'm Richland County Commissioner Cliff Mears, joined by fellow commissioners, Tony Vero, Carol Banks, Clerk Stacy Crawl, and our County Administrator, Andrew Keller. And online we have.
It was Carl and Al, but lost Al, so it's just Carl.
So we lost the better one, is what you're saying.
I didn't say that.
Not an extremely lengthy agenda today. First item would be to certify the record of proceedings from January 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Next item of business is to approve the lengthy list of requisitions due to the fact that this is the first one of the year. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
Andrew, number 33 on this list. You got the list?
No.
Yeah, the roof replacement.
Roof replacement, fairgrounds.
Yes.
Is
It's the balance of the contract,
that 360 some?
402.
the balance
Oh,
of the
okay.
contract.
Right, so won't be spending the balance just yet.
Okay, so we
An
are,
application for payment that I think we're prepared to pay, Stacy and I are in the next couple of days.
Mhm.
For $360,000+. So that's the next check that will go out on that. Yes. Do we need to adjust that, or is that okay?
That's just the balance of the contract is what I was opening up the purchase order for.
okay. Well, then I second that.
Necessarily people will be expecting that.
Yes. Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
for Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Next item of business is to approve a memorandum of understanding with the 911 union to correct a rate transposition. And this was in the contract. We actually had a wage type, I guess you could say. We had a figure that was supposed to be $24.34 an hour. It was actually put in at $24.23. It still corrects a typo. Can I have that motion?
So moved.
second.
For Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Next item is to request an approval of a utility permit application with Columbia Gas for work on Mansfield, Washington Road, which is really just a hookup. Taylor Road does not involve boring under the road.
So moved.
second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
And next and last item of business that I have, in addition to the original agenda, which is to approve a request for proposal for custodial cleaning and floor care. Central Services would like to place these ads for let's see, for Monday. And last year, we actually spent 156,000 some on Ashland cleaning and 35,000 some with commercial cleaning. So this is a motion to start that like this.
so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes,
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Any questions? That's the end of our agenda right now, unless there's any other business to attend to. Carl, any questions?
No, I got nothing.
Al,
Oh, else back.
And I that's the first couple minutes.
we just approved the
Um,
record of proceedings and the beginning year requisitions.
Okay, what was that? I came in the middle of like a $360,000 purchase order or something. What was?
Yeah, it's for the ARPA funds for the replacement of the roofs at the fairgrounds.
Okay. That's all I needed then. Thank you.
Thanks both. Seeing no other business, we will recess. It's 9:37 right now. We'll recess until 10 o'clock when we'll talk to the Village of Shiloh, an ARPA request. Well, good morning. It's 10 o'clock. Richland County Board of Commissioners is back in session. We have the same group as we had before with the addition of the Executive Director of Richland County Regional Planning Commission, Jody Cachetti, joined by a group from Shiloh. And we are here to discuss the ARPA, potential ARPA award for the Shiloh Community Water Project. So do we have anyone online?
Alan Carl, so.
Alan, Carl, both online still. And we're also joined by representatives from Channel 68 with the camera and microphone there to record the proceedings. So I think maybe we can start with you folks introducing yourselves. Who are here, and we can add that to the minutes of the meeting. And if for those who are going to be speaking, if you would move up to the front row, it'd be most appreciated.
Also known
Who that
as the torture chamber.
You're the mayor of the village of Shiloh. Brian Verberg, the village administrator.
Lonnie McGee, I'm here representing their water and sewer facilities and any technical questions on the operations and those kind of things.
Okay. With that, I'll just turn it over to you folks to see what's the latest with your request.
Okay, can I highlight some things here from? We thank you for the opportunity to come here and talk to you too. Project title is water line and tank demolition. Project description. The Shiloh Water Improvements Project consists of 3 components. Project consists of the installation of remote read water meters, users, being pit meters. Second component consists of dismantling of a water tower in Mechanic Street. And finally, the Main Street water line replacement, where we'll also be replacing 14 fire hydrants and 11 gate valves. This project will consist of approximately 7,525 feet. Our need is, our staff is still constantly dealing with breaks, valve malfunctions, and antiquated water hydrants. It also requires the water plant to operate over and above normal operations to maintain a level of quality water in the tower and in the system. It also puts more wear and tear on the pumps, more chemical expense. All our customers at the time pay a flat rate meter, pay a flat rate because we don't have meters yet. So the system constantly battles lost revenues. With no meters, it's difficult to measure water loss. Newer technology, full-scale metering replacement would monitor to allow the village to run a whole lot more efficiently. Our village has limited reserves to devote to future long-term capital improvement projects. The village is already paying on 6 OWD water and sewer loans. Funding from the federal, state, and local ARPA dollars could further sustain and improve the water system and its level of service to our customers. Our affordability. The affordability is the most challenging part of our project. Customers are paying over the affordability index for their water and sewer utility bills at 5.12% of their income. The water and sewer utility affordability index is around 2% for each. Our current water rates in the village are $78 per month for water and $106.78 per month for sewer. This project needs funded with 90% grant, otherwise residents won't be able to afford to pay for their utility bills. USDA proposal is mostly loan, but because of the current rates, USDA wouldn't fund this project because it will to customers. The maximum amount of debt Shiloh can add to their system is approximately $300,000. Our request, Shiloh is seeking grant dollars and support from the Richland County Commissioners to help fund this project. Project is probable and affordable if the county can help fund $500,000 of this project with a commitment letter signed by January 23rd of 2023. Commitment letter is required to show readiness to proceed for the community development block grant funding and for the renovation of the WSRLA. Shiloh paid for the design, which will be completed in January and February of this year. Shiloh will reapply for the WSRLA principal forgiveness in February of 2023, the remaining fund balance. And like I said the first time we were in here with our Sewer rates right now, we're like the 19th highest paying about 400 some entities in the state. And water, we're like 86th right now. So. Fine, you have what, something you want to jump in there with, fine.
Since we met last, I come up with, Daryl Banks had asked me, if we could come up with a different water meter, cheaper, bill than what we had originally presented. I was tasked with that, come up with $175 a meter is what water meters cost right now. Times 275 services. That came up to $48,125 dollars. So what that consists of, and that's remote reads that we go up and read with a scan gun. So that is part of what we could go down to if we had to, versus the software of it, the water meter shooting up to the office. Just so you got an idea that I've went that route to come up with that.
Brian, can you remind us what the cost for the original meters was?
So I don't think I have that with me. We did have an estimate of, 100 or some thousand. I believe it's 281.
280 for those meters, and you're saying for the
Yeah, and that program there would come to the office, the water meters would collectively come to the office.
in the meters that total around 49,000, you'd have to walk up to the meter to scan it, or can you scan it from the sidewalk?
No, you have to walk up to it. So.
Just looking at, maybe Jodica can answer this too. So you have projected cost and eligible funding. So this morning when I was prepping for the meeting, I added those up and I came to about 5.825 million. Is that correct, Lonnie, Jodica?
So, no, I think the way you look at it is it's the WSRLA construction. That is what we currently have. And any grant, though, the House Bill 168, that was the application we put in. So if we awarded that 1,930,000, then it would go against that loan that we borrowed from Ohio EPA. So that is just a grant possibility that we could apply for.
Okay, so you
Sense?
have applied for the 168.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me put that in context. So the House Bill 168, they had a first round of nominations, and communities that did not get funded in that round are getting a second opportunity to reapply. So they're not taking new applications. The communities that had applied for the first round, they're going to hold their applications and reopen those. The communities are being asked to let them know if they still want to be considered. So Shiloh will be reaching out and letting them know that we are interested in being considered for that grant opportunity.
So what you're saying is, I'm just trying to make sure I'm following the math. You definitely need about 3 million. That's for the total planning, design, and construction for all three phases. We're talking the whole
Right.
project. You know, you have the WSRLA.
A construction loan. That's just a loan.
Right, so you know you have that amount, right? And
How much?
does that also include the design?
So the design is separate,
But do you have, is that,
Funds for that.
have funds for that.
so right, I'm just saying, so in the far left column on the WSRLA, you have that, so that's about 2.4. I showed 2.396170, right? Okay. So then you're saying, okay, we're gonna try to go out and get additional monies. So that would consist of the CDBG critical infrastructure, the OPWC, the $500,000 request today, and another request of 1.93. Now, would that grant take the place of the loan then? Okay, okay.
I thought you would offset.
It would offset, that's what I wanted to make sure I understood this morning.
Way to keep the sewer rates affordable. They would not need, like the letter said, the maximum debt they can take on is 300,000.
So
So
if they don't get the House Bill 168, though, that really pretty much puts this project in jeopardy. I mean, it doesn't happen, right?
They can take the additional EPA debt.
yeah, so they can take the debt and they can ask WFSRLA to forgive that loan. So that's another avenue. So
If it's not forgiven, or, I mean, if the village only has the capacity, to take on about $300,000 in debt, isn't?
ideally what they would want to take on. So yes, the OPWC 500,000 is approved. And then they would try for the principal forgiveness would be top on their list. The commissioners 500,000. And then
Is forgiveness fairly common?
they think it's a good project and they think that, yes, they have a good shot.
I guess I just need,
Think they look at a lot of other factors, including the leverage. So that is kind of, I think, where they're trying to set Shiloh up so they have the maximum amount of leverage to then go and ask for that forgiveness. So the last time they weren't project ready because the design was not done. Now, when they are asking for the forgiveness, they're going to be able to show that they're project ready as far as the design of the project goes. So it has a lot of pieces and moving parts, but they have a comprehensive plan that kind of wants to get them to that 300,000, and which would be the ideal situation.
so worst case scenario, which we don't think is gonna happen, and I don't want to speak for the other two, but I think we know how important it is for Shiloh to have clean drinking water, so I'm gonna be supportive. I would imagine these two probably will. So I guess my question is, and this will probably be the village leaders. So in the event of worst case scenario, I mean, what's the risk tolerance for potentially being on the hook for about a $2.2 million worth of loans?
I can add to that question. How does that impact
How does that impact the resident?
bill for the resident?
Yeah,
It'll never be funded. We can never sustain that because we can't pass that much cost on to the residents. You would just like be vacating the town because they couldn't afford it. I mean, so.
A lot of them are really pushed right now with the sewer rates.
Lonnie?
I guess kind of the perspective, if I can interject, would be that current 300,000 of anticipated debt that they're gonna have to pay. Gonna have the average bill about $10. So if you equate that out to $3 million, it's roughly $100. So now they're paying almost upwards $300 a month for water and sewer
so
service.
you and I are doing the same math on that, and we don't think it's gonna get, but we always gotta be prepared a worst case scenario here, right? I mean, you and I are doing the same math on that. I'm going, let's see, 300 grand to 2.2 million.
It's really favorable because the EPA doesn't like them being at the 5.75%. So they're going to try to make everything possible to get it down to less than 4%, because that's 4% of the median household income is what the federal government considers the reasonable water and sewer bill for somebody to pay. And Shiloh's way over that.
When will you have an answer on the 168, Jodica, Lonnie?
They just sent out emails, but I would think the last time they took really long, but I think since these are applications that are already vetted, I think I would say by the end of March, May at the latest.
What's your sense in working with that? Because we were passed by the first time, so now there's a second pass.
The second pass.
You think the likelihood is if they pass us by the first time, they'll pass us by a second time? Is that hard to tell? Just
That's
not,
hard to tell. They never gave reasons on the projects that they picked for the first round. There was never any explanation. And we know Belleville got funded, but again, there's
Okay.
no explanation. So We don't.
And
And that stands for the CDBG critical infrastructure. Again, also, it's the same process. We submitting the same application. We hope it's a favorable stance this year around. I think our best shot is the loan forgiveness that EPA will come in, and
So first it's 168, then it's loan forgiveness.
I think if it's 168, if we get 168, there'll just be less a loan to forgive.
Right, I guess I'm saying that's the order in which it goes, and if both are no, then this project doesn't happen? Okay.
and you went to the
PWC,
yeah, it was that also went through the small government.
no, we did not send it to small government. The reason being it's scored so favorably within the county. So it's going to get funded.
At what juncture in the project will we know if it's forgivable?
I think they're submitting in February, so I think before June, we should know.
And it will be helpful if they have a commitment from the county
County,
to secure a forgivable
yes.
loan. Okay,
And I think by May, June, we should know if this project is approved. Because the CDBG critical funding, that will be announced in March. Again, I anticipate the 168 funding by March, but no later than May to have that announced. And I think the loan forgiveness, if that's getting nominated in February, again, before May, we should know.
and how many contracts are we talking about? Would there be a contract for the water line replacement? Would it be separate contracts for meters and separate contract for water tower demo, or would it be one single prime contract for everything?
The contract right now, through CT Consultants, they have added the water meters in their spectrum.
Okay, so you expect the water meters will be in their specifications for the entire project?
Yes.
Is the demo for the water tower also going to be contained within their specifications?
That part I'm not aware of, but I can't say no.
Can the project be parceled out in the event that it's a no? Meaning, could you at least do the water meters? I guess if we paid for it via ARPA, you could do the water meters, right?
Yes.
And it sounds like that's number one priority. Let's get the residents on the meters. Let's have them pay. It's important that they're billed appropriately. I'm just asking, I would imagine it could be parceled out, Lonnie?
I would only say no for one reason, because OPWC grant, it's very difficult to change the scope from what was submitted for the application.
So could we do an independent
I guess what I'm saying, right, yeah, we would just, I mean, we know at a minimum, we know at a minimum, we at least need to do the meters. I mean, that's step one, right?
Do the commissioners have a requirement, if you will, for an ARPA award, whether we're spending $280,000 on the remote read readers or the $50,000 on the readers that require more manual reading?
Guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it based on how this goes. I mean, the ask is for 500 and I say that's what we do, right?
Because the HB 168 is in point for 1.9 million. What's the possibility they could say, we're not going to go with that, but we'll give you $1 million, or we'll give you something other figure than that? Or is it all or nothing?
I think in the first round, it was all or nothing. That's how they did it. Now, because I think they realized that some projects either are a go or not, just depending on how the application is submitted.
The chances are slim they're going to change that number, you think?
But they can,
They could do anything they want?
there are
Okay.
guidelines on how they're distributing those funds. And just to be aware of, I think there were other communities in Richland County that had submitted applications for HB1. Probably was not the only applicant from it.
Jodica makes a point on the OPWC. 5 years that I served on the committee, nobody got the scope changed. And they just, you ask for what you get and that's what you come up with.
Yes or no?
Yeah. And, but that's only 500,000, that's 499. And Lonnie, is there anything else we need to know about this project?
Sure, I think we've covered it very thoroughly.
Okay,
A couple of quick questions about the future billing for the residents. So is it going to be gallons used and no minimum? So I know, in Mansfield, there were a number of considerations. It used to be we paid in units and there was a minimum of 2 units. But now that, for example, in Mansfield, it's gallons only. So you have more of an incentive to conserve water because you want a lower bill. Right now, that's not the situation in Shiloh because everybody pays the same. Once you get a meter, is there going to be a minimum is question number one. And number two, is it going to be units or gallons and it'll be actual gallons used?
There will be a minimum and it'll be up to so many gallons and then it'll be the gallons after that in between, say like 1,000 to 3,000 or whatever has this set fee. This is what we're working towards. So people will have, conserve. If you're going to waste water, you're going to pay for water.
There'll be a separate line item as well for the maintenance of the meters.
The maintenance of the meters, that'll be fit in through our funding as it goes level, or repair or whatever.
But yeah, sometimes you got to replace them. They go bad. You
Yeah.
switch them out. That comes with a cost as well, of course.
Sure.
Lonnie, were you going to say something?
In perspective, the city of Mansfield has a lot more options. When you have 50,000 population, you can divvy up things a little bit different, but when you got 275 customers,
Sure.
600 population, you're somewhat fixed to almost like the minimum bill. And then you can be discretionary after that, whether you want to do an increasing rate or decreasing rate. Like if you buy 1 egg, it's $1. If you buy 140 boards, 60 cents. So, yeah, but pretty much straight up rate structure for the plus usage charge. And we have incorporated the assistance of RCAP, our Rural Community Assistance Program, and they're real helpful in getting this set up for us to tell us where we need to be. So we're not killer on that. So.
okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion that we use ARPA funds at $500,000 for the water system and all the things that's been mentioned in Shiloh. Which meters you go with, I think you have to sit down and determine, is it cheaper to buy the most expensive one? Or is it cheaper to buy the less expensive one and pay more labor as you go? Whichever works out.
Second.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Vero.
Yes.
I think we need to consider as well a motion to approve a sub-recipient agreement with the Village of Shiloh for the ARPA award. Do I have a motion for that as well?
Yes.
We'll have plenty of time to get that signed, considering I know there's a lot of moving parts still, but the award today will operate as the commitment for the village as you seek other funding.
I think I just wanted to make a comment that the project has been interesting because I know it's been an uphill battle for Shiloh, but they recognize that and they put a plan into place. They engaged with partners because they know that they have the capacity without help. So I think they've been proactive in engaging with RCAP and with the engineers very early and looking at funding sources because this is not something that a village the size of Shiloh can absorb, but it's going to become mandated by EPA if they don't address it right now. So, getting ahead of this before it becomes an EPA mandate. And I want to, thank the commissioners for helping Shiloh, I think, push this.
I think the Board of Commissioners recognizes there's nothing more basic, clean, affordable water, and this is essential. I think we recognize that, and we should help in this regard.
This is where we all stem from is when I came on, I seen what happened to the sewer plant. The sewer plant was being built when I first started. I was only part-time help. And as I came on and I got more interested in it, I seen the problems that had passed that sewer plant, getting it going and all the changes that came about it. So, I mean, this is something why I didn't want to sit around and talk about it when this money was available. We need to make it happen. We need to make some change with the water
I think you still need to call for the vote on the Suddenbridge shipping agreement.
Commissioner Mears, Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes,
Any other comments on that?
media may have questions, so don't go anywhere, fellas. Or Jodica.
Carl or Al, anything?
Yeah. If I could, Jodica, what is the status of the OPWC grant request?
So we approved that on the district level. So the application will be forwarded to Ohio Public Works Commission to work out part of
Okay, you really broke up after going to the state. What's the date on when you think that will be decided?
it is decided, Carl. They just get their form in July.
Okay, so if you've got 500,000 in ARPA, 499 in OPWC, if somebody could just go over what the other numbers are, because obviously I don't have there's no sheet in front of me and I'm looking back at past stories I've done on this. What is the current funding for the remainder of the $2 million for this?
Carl, it's the total cost on planning, design and construction cost estimate is $3,011,410. They already applied and have a loan for 107. And do you want me to just send you this spreadsheet, or this might be easier?
Yeah, if you
Yes.
I'm doing it
that'd be
right
fine.
now.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
it's on its way.
All right. And I guess the question is, if there's a concern that this might, that this could put too much debt, if this doesn't get approved, that doesn't get approved. Did the village consider applying for more in ARPA, and would the county consider granting more in ARPA rather than put the folks in Shiloh up against a increase they can't afford?
I don't think we're ready to say that yet. We want to move forward and see what we want. And
We're really,
hypothetical, we don't want to make a hypothetical.
and we are already over asked with ARPA requests, so we'd like to go with this figure right now, I believe.
Carl, it's Andrew. The Shiloh village officials have been proactive last couple of meetings explaining the need. Their ask has been $500,000. And what you will see from the document that Commissioner Barrow is sending you is
Decent.
you're correct that $999,000, if based upon the commissioner's action today, has been committed in the form of grants to the village of Shiloh. So the remaining balance is a little over $2 million, and that's going to be funded either by grant, if they're successful with House Bill 168, or forgivable loan through the Ohio EPA. And the village is banking on one of those two applications being successful, either a grant from House Bill 168 or a forgivable loan from the Ohio EPA. And if not, then I think the village is back to the drawing board.
Okay, and if I could, I know, and I'm not asking for hypotheticals here, but if you're sending the village back to the drawing board in a county that has a pretty healthy rainy day fund and money in your carryover, is that something the commissioners would look at or no?
But you are asking a hypothetical, Carl. You're asking it again.
I think the commissioners would consider any.
Our answers are always the same. We will always consider requests, but Commissioner Mears is correct. What we believe as far as what we will ultimately end up with or have already received on our restricted ARPA side is in excess of what's actually in our restricted ARPA funding. Now, things could change. We could have alterations of requests. That's why I think Commissioner Banks is correct in saying it's difficult to answer hypotheticals. But we just said similarly the other day, we will always consider requests. But it's just not something we can answer because we don't know, one, are they going to get approved, or, does that mean another project who has a request would get less? It just becomes a dangerous situation. So we're hoping it doesn't get to that point. But if it does, there's a lot of smart people and we'll regroup and try to figure out a solution.
Okay, and would that solution possibly include from the rainy day fund or your carryover? Or would that
I
strictly
don't,
be something ARPA?
I will ask, look. I don't know if we can just give money from a rainy day fund to other municipalities, Carl. As you know, we are, it's not that simple. Because we're restricted by the Ohio Revised Code and what we can do. So it's not like we can just write checks from county funds to other municipalities or school districts. So we will try to help them accomplish what they need to do. But again, we don't know until we know.
Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Al, you got anything?
There we go. The only question I've got is, I'd like a copy of that spreadsheet too, please. Otherwise, Carl did a good job in asking all the questions.
I think Tony's making sure you're getting it now.
I'm doing it right now.
Have it shortly.
The only other thing I'd like to mention is the non-recognition for Jodica's group, the regional planning, and herself and Drew and their participation. I mean, they've spent over backwards for showing us and participating in all this guidance to it, working with RCAP. But it's been a total effort. And I know she, for obvious reasons, she didn't state that, but Skyla was very appreciative of that part of it. And then, of course, your contribution. I know darn well that, we were on a fixed percent with everybody else. We're trying to get the best. So.
Well, thanks for mentioning that.
Next time.
We're very happy with this young lady back here and the job she's done.
He's good.
Job.
Well, you do it very well. Thank you.
Village of Shiloh, on behalf of Village of Shiloh, we sincerely thank the commissioners.
You're quite welcome. It's actually the Richland County taxpayers.
I want to thank Lonnie and Jodica and Heidi. Without this, we wouldn't be where we're at. We wouldn't be here today.
We're all glad to see this taking shape. Okay. Seeing no further business, the Board of Commissioners will adjourn at 10:32 a.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.